International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Some call it the rise of William Ruto. Others are saying it is how it ought to be, where the voice of the populace matters, where the voice of the masses matters, where the votes of the people that came out to cast their votes was taken into consideration. Hence, the story between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. And that is what we're going to talk about in the Kenya election, the rise of William Ruto. I want to say also a situation where the votes of Kenyans came out to speak for them. Wouldn't you agree? Is there a lesson to be learned from this particular process that transpired in Kenya when we talk about some regard William Ruto as an underdog, though he was the vice president Uhuru Kenyatta, but they said Uhuru Kenyatta's blessing was upon Raila Odinga. But how come William Ruto from somewhere and nowhere became the winner of the Kenya's election? Well, my analyst will want to throw more light on that, because with me here in the studio, I have a preacher of the word, a clergyman, a political analyst, human rights activist, social commentator. Join me to welcome Reverend Humphrey Arega. Reverend, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate you coming.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone.
I sit very close to him. He's a political affairs commentator, a vibrant youth, a teacher, impact of knowledge. Join me to welcome Ibrahim Momo. Ibrahim, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers.
All right. When all these things were happening in Kenya, so many people never saw this coming. People like saying that since the rivalry between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta has been settled, logically speaking, the mantle ought to have fallen on Raila Odinga. But here we are having a William Ruto. Reverend, were you surprised to see the outcome of that result in Kenya presidential election?
Thank you very much for having me. I've said over and over that I'm not surprised about what happens in Africa, because the things you least expect at times are the things that manifest. I followed a little bit of the Kenyan election, and I know that in time past, Ruto had contested the election against Raila, but they had a problem. There was a massacre somewhere, and the elections were gone, and a new constitution came in. And then he aligned himself with Uhuru Kenyatta for that election, and he became the vice president. He has been a youthful individual. He has been a man with some intellectual depth of the politics of the Kenyan populace. You see, one of the problems or the bane of African politics is that Africans see themselves as patriarchs and kings and lords. And so they are very sectionally minded. Uhuru Kenyatta has been a warlord for his own constituency and all. So they see him as the only person. And he sees himself as all in all. And even during the campaign, you can see his campaign trail. Even weeks before the days before the election were announced, they had already been announcing him as leader, as president.
You're talking about Odinga.
Odinga, yes. So, but I have seen the young man relating to the people and talking of issues and the economy. And this is where things are, because since the truncating of the peace of the world by these COVID-19 and all, the world has changed into certain things, and people are beginning to look at how does our lives make us know what we are going to do. Africa is becoming a hunger basket of the world, and the old people don't seem to have a sense of direction as to how to solve these problems, because they lost track of thought. But the younger generation, a little bit, have because of the kind of relationship and their influence, are able to interact. And so that's what has happened. The young man went out to, and I think the last straw on Raila Odinga's coffin was when he began to talk about religion.
We'll come to that, the aspects of religion. But before that, you get to realize that Raila Odinga is not an ordinary man when you talk about Kenya politics. According to report, he has the structure. According to report also, he is a man to beat in any election, to the extent that for Uhuru Kenyatta to have peace in his tenure, they just had to shit the sword, and he aligned with Raila Odinga. People like saying that he is the anointed one of Uhuru Kenyatta. But take a look at the result. Mom, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Reverend. Were you surprised?
Well, I was surprised and I was not surprised. I was surprised that even in the 21st century, the key factor determines who become the fourth largest economy, the president of the fourth largest economy in Africa, Kenya, is primordial sentiments. It's identity politics. I'm surprised that it is not about the issues. Because funny enough, the issues that Raila Odinga were advocating for was his campaign promises, his manifesto, were almost identical to that of William Ruto. There were no differences, no identical differences. They were what if you could call in political science socialists, social-leaning candidates, both of them. Now, I was also surprised that despite the fact that the incumbent president, Uhuru Kenyatta, who is a Kikuyu, the largest ethnic nationality in Kenya, was supportive of the bitter ethnic rival, the Luo. Raila Odinga is a Luo, which is the second largest ethnic group. The East tribe, the current president's tribe, the Kikuyus, refused to move to support. So it was not even about whether I got endorsement of Raila Odinga, of Uhuru Kenyatta or not, but that this ethnic group, that level, that deprecable level of identity politics in the 21st century, in 2022, is something that surprised me. That people were not looking at what they had to offer, because actually between 6 and half a dozen there was nothing. Look at the manifesto of Raila Odinga and William Ruto. There was nothing different. So it was not, and to add vent to it is the fact that William Ruto is the incumbent. I think it's next year, Zanova. He's still the incumbent president.
Vice president, yes.
Vice president, sorry.
Yes.
For the last 9 years, going to 10 years, 9+ years, he has been in power, the vice president. And then if you look at the fact that whether it is Uhuru Kenyatta, or it is William Ruto, or it is Raila Odinga, they were all members of what was called 2007 the Orange Democratic Movement, that banded to fight Mwai Kibaki, the previous president.
Yes.
That William Ruto, Raila Odinga, and Uhuru Kenyatta all came together to fight. And then 5 years later, or 10 years later, when it was now time, for, assumed that it was time for Raila Odinga, they fell apart. And then President Mwai Kibaki supported Uhuru Kenyatta, who they were all together against before, So, and then, in the same way, I see that it continues to play out, that there are alliances and dislocation of those alliances. It happened with Mwai Kibaki, where Mwai Kibaki was the predecessor to
Uhuru Kenyatta.
It happened with Mwai Kibaki. They came together and fought Mwai Kibaki. Now, William Ruto supported, if a Kalenjin, it's not even a Luo or a Kikuyu.
Yes.
It's a Kalenjin, the third largest ethnic group. So it is the forces, the alliance of the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu. Just like we have the Igbos, the Hausas and the Yorubas. It is maybe when you have the Igbos and the Yorubas come together, or the Hausas and the Igbos come together, That's what happened there.
All right.
So I think that I was surprised that even at this stage you are there, but I was not surprised. You know, I think I was surprised.
You were not surprised. Okay, I will come back to you more now. He said ethnicity played a major role in the election because a tribe refused to follow the order or dictates of Uhuru Kenyatta. You share the same view?
You see, there are elements of facts there. But let's also appreciate the fact that politicians can never be trusted. There was no way Uhuru Kenyatta could have 100% support Raila Odinga.
Yeah, I agree.
It was not possible. Because they have had this political rivalry. You know, at the point, Uhuru Kenyatta was, they made Raila Odinga prime minister.
Yeah, during the crisis.
Just for peace to reign. And that was exactly the diplomatic part that Uhuru Kenyatta played. He endorsed him, but he went back to his people and there was no agreement on Raila Odinga. They preferred somebody else. And again, the youthful nature also played a part because the youths, the younger generation, also followed Ruto. There has been, you see, like I said, African politics is bedeviled with so much of sentiments to tribal lineage. And that has not helped us. For me, I believe that it's a transition that's coming.
A transition?
Yes, it's a transition that's coming, and I hope they're able to develop it because even in the other elections, some younger generations won election as governors and as members of assembly. So there's going to be something different that has to be happening in Kenya. And I hope it happens across African nations. Because until we shift from this ethnicity, until we shift from this old age, rivalry is my turn. So whether I have anything to offer or not, it must be me. You know, that mentality has to shift and has to change. You know, because the world is changing over. If you look at the world affairs, leadership is becoming a generational shift. Most of the younger ones are coming up because the kind of thoughts that is coming up in this generation is not the one that you have your traditional pots sitting down there and casting spell on anybody. It is technologically driven. It is who is able to relate to the world, who is able to sell that. Kenya has products to be sold that have not been sold to the world. You know, whether in human capacity or in mineral resources. So we need to begin to look. That's why I was happy that Raila Odinga didn't win.
Are you happy I didn't win?
I was happy because
all right.
Just like when Kabaki was, these are the same old politicians that have been there over the period. They try to recycle them. We cannot live with recycled materials.
All right. Now he mentioned age factor. William Ruto, according to reports, is like 55 years of age, and of course, Raila Odinga should be 77 now and counting. Apart from that, also he talked about betrayal, that he didn't really set, or he's not really certain that Uhuru Kenyatta really came out in full force for Raila Odinga to win. Take it up from there.
Okay, well, it's good for us to wish that things will change. But I wish so too, because like one of an economist would say, change is good if it makes things better off.
Yeah. Without
making anything worse off. You know, so I think that we hope that things are changing. I'm very hopeful. I'm an incredible optimist, so to say. But when we look at the issues, the undercurrents, I try to, as a political scientist, look at the undercurrents, the motivating factors, not just what social media is saying or what media is saying. And what I find out is that apart from tribe, the other thing that played a role was religion.
Religion?
Not even age. Apart from tribe, the church were rooting. That's why I said I was not surprised. You know, the other thing was I was not surprised. But it was obvious that this is the candidate of the church. And the church,
William Ruto.
Yes, yeah. In fact, he was campaigning. Somebody tried it in Nigeria too. I started trying it in Nigeria too. But the difference between Nigeria and Kenya is that Kenya is almost entirely a Christian country, unlike Nigeria, where you have maybe two major religions. Kenya is almost 80 or 90% Christian. You know, so, and when the church now, when we have that kind of backing, You see it even in the US. One of the things that worked for Trump was that he had the support of the evangelicals, and he rose to power against against expectation in the first term, and he almost got second term. If not that, call it. So I think that, whereas it's a good thing, the good thing is that some people cannot sit down somewhere, two persons. Okay, I've ruled my 10 years. Now I want to anoint the candidates. And now anoint Raila Odinga, and I want to anoint my vice president. Whereas it's okay that few people should not decide the fate of everybody. But equally more insidious, equally much more dangerous, is the fact that primordial sentiments, or what we can call identity politics, are what is determining leadership in the African continent. It's not, you see, there are tribes in Europe. A lot of people don't know, you call it the think majority language. There are a lot of countries that don't speak English in Europe. In fact, in North America, French and English are in Canada now, for example, French and English are equally spoken. But several communities, it is Germany, it is France, it is Switzerland, it is Bulgaria, it is so many countries don't speak English. So, but that does not play a key role. The language, the tribe of candidates don't determine who becomes president. But whereas in Africa, it is so dangerous, so insidious. Even the religion we are claiming, they are borrowed. The religions we are claiming, whether it is Christianity, it is Islam, they didn't originate from Africa. Africa had what we call the African traditional religion. Now, these religions that we are bringing, those who gave it to us, it's not a determining factor of leadership in those countries. But you come to Africa, it is this primordial sentiment, more than any other thing. Because at the end of the day, we are losing track of what matters. The key issues we should be asking ourselves is, which candidate has the best economic policies for our country? Which candidate has the best educational policies that will determine that there is universal education? Every child of the poor man, of the bricklayer, of the cobbler can go to school. Which candidate? Nobody is asking those questions. Which candidate can ensure that there is poverty reduction? If you cannot eradicate, at least you can reduce the poverty. China did it. China did it. It's possible. Each country, which candidate is going to ensure that social security, that okay, those who can't get a job for the period they are unemployed, they can get a
stipend from government.
From government.
Yes.
Which nobody's asking the critical questions.
All right. Now, I know I stopped when we were to talk about the church and religion, but I think it's up to talk about it right now. You said it got so much backing from a religious sect in Kenya vis-a-vis the church. Were they the main factor?
It was one of the factors. I'm going to say that because Raila Odinga shot himself on the foot when he made public pronouncements that the Constitution of Kenya guarantees equal rights to everybody. It's a fact. But when he now said that the rulership over the years have elevated Christianity more than anybody, and that when he comes, he's going to bring it to a level play. That was an indictment. And the church never took it kindly with him. See, that's why politicians need to be very careful of the statements they make. Because you were wooing the Muslim community or that community does not give you right to make statements that will be injurious to the other people. You have to be very careful. And that gave him a knock.
But take a look at the statement. I don't think it's that injurious. He was speaking the plain truth.
No.
That's going to make them almost of the same level.
Who made one higher than the other? If you say the Constitution already. So what is your thoughts? Why are you talking about that? The judiciary is there. If you are hot, you go to the court to affirm your rights and responsibilities. It's there. But let us not play politics with things that you know that can be very. That's why I said religion has become a very sentimental issue. Religion and ethnicity. They are supposed to be things of pride. If you are a Christian, you blow your horn. Nobody say you shouldn't say that. But don't begin to play on people just because you need their vote. There's nothing he would have done as a president that the Constitution has not guaranteed. There's nothing he can do as a president that the court cannot do. So you didn't need to do that. But secondly, let me also, my brother said something which I've been trying to correct it somewhere. Christianity didn't come from Europe. Christianity was already in Africa, in Egypt, ever before Europe was born. That somebody at a point, because of other things, became the matter where you are hearing it. Somebody said that you are hearing information today doesn't mean it originated today. It's just that you are hearing it.
All right. Anyway,
so Christianity
we're only talking about the origin of Christianity right
because
now.
These are things that is still being used even in Nigerian politics today. That Christianity is a foreign religion. It is not correct. It's not correct. We all have it here. So whether we are propagated or anything is a different matter. I leave it at that because somebody
let's leave it at that right now because I want to dive into another discussion.
I want to let politicians know that statements you make, people take note of it. Whether it depends on interpretation. If I hear something, I interpret it the way I want. And that's why the social media is becoming a very dangerous weapon in the hand of anybody. If they twist your statement, that's the end of the story.
Wow.
Because in journalism, they said, first statement matters more because the correction may not be read by those who read the first statement. So that's why you have to be very careful of the statements you make. You may not have time for a rejoinder.
All right.
And those who are there may not be the ones who heard the first story.
Okay.
And so you are talking about something else. So it's plain that everything played out.
Okay.
But Kenya needed to move away from this oligarchy of individuals who believe that the countries in Africa become their estates.
All right. Now, he said Odinga shot himself on the foot by making such a comment. Was that comment enough to really create that disenchantment for him or his personality? Because according to report before the election, it was like Raila Odinga or no one else.
Well, I think that it's not yet to prove, even though that's the name of the outgoing president. It's by no means has it ended, the elections, you know. Like they say in Nigeria, you never know who the president is until INEC has voted. Yeah. Sorry, until the Supreme Court has voted. Because the Supreme Court is the one that will determine who are governors nowadays, you know, not just so when the Supreme Court votes, you cannot say you have a ticket.
But as it stands right now, William Ruto is the president elect.
Yes. And why I'm saying that is that there are seven member independent elections and boundary commissions, and 4 out of the 7 rejected the results that were declared. 4 out of 7, majority declared rejected what the chairman of the commission and 2 others were declared. That's significant. Even the deputy chairman of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission of Kenya, in fact, she led the protest. That result is not reflective. So it is not yet to hold. In fact, in the last election, there had to be a rerun because the elections were annulled.
Yes,
in the last 4 years ago, when the last election was held, it was annulled and a rerun was done. So it is not yet, with all due respect, to
All right.
Okay,
not yet Uhuru because like what you rightly said, some REC, so to speak, we call them REC in Nigeria, they rejected the results saying, look, that is not a representation of the wishes of the people. What do you think caused all this even within the electoral empire?
Well, it's difficult to read the minds of anybody. But we also have this understanding, and that's where it is dangerous. Once a commission is not as independent as it ought to be, there's always a reason for suspicion. African Independent Electoral Commissions are never independent.
They just have the word independent.
They just have it, which is a deception. So the people go to the back, you know, that's why sometimes judges become afraid. Because while things are happening, there are calls and families are being threatened behind to say you must not do this, you must not do this. So you have to ask yourself, because I tried to analyze, because the results were pasted today from their various constituencies and all. And you are wondering what is the margin is not too big. Margin is not too big. I think that's where a lot of the people are having power. But if it was bigger, it would have been more trouble. They would have told you that they manipulated. Well, so
In fact, they are claiming manipulation already.
yeah, but that's the African. Donald Trump will not even allow us to say only Africa. Till tomorrow, Donald Trump doesn't believe that he didn't win
the election.
And we are beginning to see how he was phoning people to turn the thing. And these are some of the problems. But I'm glad that the man announced the result. Because that will now make persons, not only people, independent individuals have these results. And observers have these results. So when you are going to court, these observers are going to be part of the court system. They're going to present their results. So you have to be able to say how and why. But the point is, my whole question I want to have is, how are results announced? Is it only the chairman that has the power to announce results? Or they sit down and the results are coming in? And it's certified and verified before the results are announced. So it's becoming confusing to me in some of these issues.
Yeah.
You know, and I pray that they don't go back to what happened before, because that was the reason that happened, that there was almost war. And over 1,000 people were killed. Do they want to kill their citizens again because of somebody's interest? You know, I think the justices need to be justice in their mind, and the Independent Electoral Commission officers should do their job. They were not paid to watch for an individual.
No, sir. With all due respect, I think that if there's substantiated evidence of manipulation of results, I think they need to be, if there are evidence to prove, if they do have evidence, I think that it is within their right to seek redress.
No, I don't say no. I'm not saying no. I'm saying why and how would that happen? Because I expected that the Electoral Commission should have been sitting in the office there, all of them together, collating the results coming in. So why should there be all of a sudden, some people are saying, no, this is not what, let the court will be the arbiter. Let the Uhuru and Odinga go to court. But let the justices look at information not just from one source now.
Yeah.
The independent observers that came, that also have results, should be allowed in court to present their case. So that at the end of the day, let it be, it is who won that is declared.
Okay. Now let's take a look at the commission before we talk about the courts right now. You get to realize that it's one body. And they were, we were told that these bodies are independent. And now the body is divided amongst itself because of the outcome of the result and announcement made by the leader of the group, so to speak. How come this disparity in results announcement?
Well, I think that it's the nature or the character of the cumbersome nature of how the results are declared in Kenya. Now, I looked at how our election results are defined in presidential elections in Kenya. So what I found out was that first, at the polling booths, polling units, when results are declared, they are immediately uploaded to a particular dedicated server for those results. And then the hard copies of those results and the ballot boxes that have been stuffed with the ballot boxes containing the ballot papers will be taken to Nairobi, the IEBC office in Nairobi, where again they are cross-checked with what has been uploaded to favor. And that is where I think Raila Odinga said that what we got from the various polling units and what was eventually claimed as the final results, there are some, I think, 39 provinces. And there are 47 provinces. In 39, there are cases of disparity. So I'm interested in not just an election result, but that the process was free, fair, and credible. That's where I think I stand. If we can ensure there's free, fair, and credible. So it is that cumbersome. In fact, it took it, the election that was held August 9th. Today is August 14 or 15, I think. Yeah, 15. 15. So you see how long it took.
6 days.
To bring all the ballot papers, ballot boxes, and then the hard copies as declared in the various polling units to the capital, to the headquarters of IEBC of Kenya before the results are declared. So it is that cumbersome nature. And then the other point is about the centralization of power over election matters. In Africa, what you see is that there's always one central unitary, essentially, system in a supposedly federal states. For example, in Nigeria, elections results in a presidential election does not end at the state. It must have to be declared by INEC headquarters. That's when it is. The INEC returning officer, or what you can call the collation officer, or indeed the returning officer particularly, they have to still take the results straight to Abuja, INEC headquarters, or wherever they choose as the collation, national central collation point. Whereas in a place like the US, for example, or in the UK, which is a parliamentary system of government, results are declared in the US, in the states. That's the final arbiter.
All right.
And then it is at the local governments in Britain. That's where the results are declared. So a prime minister, a candidate for parliament is known at his
local level,
constituency,
oh.
not in London.
Okay, I will come back to you, Ibrahim. Now, if the election is supposedly free, fair, and credible, how come the commission is split into factions?
With majority not even supportive.
Of course, because whether you like it or not, there is a split already.
Yeah.
Over to you,
when you say free, fair, and credible, again, those are terminologies that are subject to debate.
Subject to debate.
Yes. What is free? If there were some skimmings along the road, you can't call it free.
Yeah.
If somebody tampered with the result along the road, you can no longer call it free. Because there have been,
and of course,
complications. No longer credible. So like I said, let's wait for. You see, sometimes we make things complicated, and when you have complicated issues, you always have problems. Human beings now begin to play a dominant role. What is the reason for the technology? If you have to wait for, and you know the kind of terrain that some of these countries are.
Very rural, yeah.
So before you transport your electoral materials from where you are to where you are, and there's a time for which election result must be announced, else the credibility is even lost. So that is taken care of by the electronic system. So I'm sure the chairman must have used the electronic method of what they received to announce before waiting for the hand material, because there's also a period to which all election issues must be looked at before it can now be finally determined or who won the election. But it is also very dangerous for you to wait to say, let's wait for that period. Because again, human beings, just like snakes swallowed millions in Nigeria, anything can be swallowed on the road. And you don't see the snake, they are not visible, but the money is stolen. The same thing, votes can be stolen. And you can't trace even the ballot paper. You are now beginning to ask questions. So a lot of things happen. We complicate matters for ourselves because we take politics as a do or die game.
Yeah.
Because African leaders see themselves as leadership as the only resource in their life. Nothing else. So once they hold on to that, that's the end of the story. If they lose it, they know it's gone. Odinga knows that this may be the last election he's going to hold. He's 70-something. Anyway, even the man in Nigeria was using a wheelchair. And they were still campaigning for him. That's Africa.
No, even the UK, even the US had that too. Yeah. FDR was on wheelchair when he won the election.
No, those ones are when they were growing.
It's not only Africa.
No, that's when they were growing. We have learned from why are we not learning? Why do we go back in the 40s and still be doing the thing like that?
All right.
These are some of the things. So I believe that it will resolve itself out. Not wishing, and I'm not sure that any Kenyan, like I said, will be wishing for what happened before.
Yeah.
Yes.
That lives have to be lost without, you can't compensate for any life that is lost. You can't govern the people you killed, which are some of the things. So I believe that the justices also have to note. Okay. And those who are officials, I'm just trying to wonder why the split. I'm still trying to wonder.
Because, well, like, you guys are one body.
We are one body. You're looking at the same thing at the same time. All of a sudden, you're saying...
I said yes, I said no. So I don't think that with the outcome of the decisions of these commissioners, so to speak, is further deepening Kenya into tumultuous state.
Well, I think that contestations, conflicts, debates, disagreements. These are things that go with the terrain. Politics is not a game of, it's not a family meeting. you have competing interests. Even when it comes to public policy making, there's always those competition for which policy eventually gets to be implemented by government. That's the nature of the terrain. And so I'm not surprised that those conditions are there. The only challenge I have is that if at the level of the electoral umpire we have this disagreement, then there's an issue. Because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be one body. And so there should be no trace of argument regarding the declared result. Not to talk of when you have majority of the electoral commissioners saying no, this result that you are about to declare was manipulated. Because the chairman, of course, is the duty of the chairman. But the chairman is not it's not an overlord. It's not a monarch. He's a commissioner too, like others, except that he's primus inter pares. He's first among the commissioners. So in the other, for example, if the chairman goes, the commission will still be able to go ahead. There are 6 other persons apart from the chairman of the commission. So I think that I'm interested in free, fair, and credible election. It is not about who wins. It's about the process. People make the mistake in democracy or in.
But for Raila Odinga, it's about who wins.
Yes, it's about who wins. If he has lost previously, in fact, he's a serial loser. People say that he's the article of.
I don't want us to start mentioning names right now. Please.
Without due respect.
All right.
It's not intended to malign anybody.
Okay.
But it's a serial contestant and serial loser. But the point, therefore, is that if he loses fairly, good. Okay. But if the process was manipulated just so that he loses, then that's not good enough.
All right. Right now, before they started talking about the current president and of course Raila Odinga, it was the election palaver that caused their trouble. It's my turn. Sorry, I'm stronger than you, my trouble are bigger than yours, so we are winning now. There is peace. Do you think that Raila Odinga will take this sitting? Do you foresee turbulence like what happened during the time of Uhuru Kenyatta?
Well, I do not want to see that happen because, like I said, looking back at what happened in the last election that created the trouble, it wasn't those contesting for the election that lost their lives.
Yeah.
It is the innocent citizens that lost their lives. Can we afford another round of mindless killing? That's the point. You see, and again, it's not even all Africa things happen. The American experience has given us example that human beings are human beings everywhere.
It's democracy. That's the challenge of democracy, really.
And that any human being who has over-ambition about himself, no matter where he grows from, can exhibit the same thing. But I believe that, I also want to believe that Odinga, or even the young man,
William
Ruto, should appreciate that if the people say you cannot govern us, you can't force yourself on them. And that's the beauty about democracy. Majority wins the vote. Everybody will not vote for you.
But there's a doubt about the majority right now for a commission to be split.
That's what I'm saying. You see,
because of this same issue and result.
There's a window of remedy that is still open for them to look at it. So it's not closed yet. Let that window be thoroughly used positively. And at the end of the day, let that who wins win. If it has to go back to another election, let it be. But let the people's voice speak and let it stand. All I'm saying that nobody should ignite the fire to burn their own citizens just because they want to rule. But let us also in the commission also know that they hold the life of the country in their hands. Whatever game they play, if they play it fairly, posterity will also judge them fairly. If they also manipulate and bring the country into chaos, they will also reap the benefit of the chaos, because they say whatever you sow, you reap. Sometimes, just like what have happened in maybe Sri Lanka, so when the young people said to the president, we no longer want you. It doesn't matter. Remember, was it not in what's the other country? Where those days the people stayed on the road. They say you can kill us, but we don't need you. You can kill a few, but you are going to have yourself, ask yourself, after you have killed them, the blood of those people will be on your hand. So let them play the game fairly.
All right.
Nobody, you brought out yourself to say, vote for me. You went on appeal. Appeal is not a directive.
Appeal is not a directive.
It's not a directive to say you must vote for me. And if they choose to, let the choice be heard.
All right.
Let nobody manipulate it along the road.
All right.
For their own selfish end, because anybody who's manipulating along the road is talking of what benefits he's going to get.
Now, we have a splitted house. The umpire as it stands right now is splitted. Now, when the house was not splitted, there was still battle between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. Now that the house is splitted, do you think that chaos is inevitable?
Well, I think that people ought to be war-weary. Politicians ought to know, because I ought to know that you're not seeking to rule over dead people. And then the citizens, more than any other person, the citizens themselves must realize that they are the ones who suffer in those conflicts. The politicians don't come out during the conflicts. They are not seen anywhere near the fisticuffs. 1,000 persons died. You won't find one politician, one aspirant, one candidate among the dead.
1,000.
You won't find in the last round of 2007 crisis. You won't find one of those candidates among the dead, or even their relatives. You don't find it. So our people, the electorate, the citizens must realize that violence has never achieved any. In fact, when I said in 2007, 2018 at Ebonyi, there was one crisis that was there. It's called the Eza and the Zelo people. They were fighting. And they were killing themselves over land. Hundreds of people were being killed. And the land remained. That's how politics. The land was there. It's Ebonyi State. Eza and Evilo. They're killing themselves over land. It's our land. It's our land. It's our land. While they were killing themselves, the land remained until the government drove every one of them out of those lands and took over and assumed ownership. Those villages were seized by government. Everybody was asked to evacuate. That's when the crisis ended. Over land. So it's a politics. The power that people are fighting, the tribe. What does it mean to be Kikuyu? What does it mean to be a Luo? What does it mean to be a Kalenjin? What does it mean for in our own context to be an Igbo, to be an Hausa, to be a Yoruba? What does it mean that if I'm Hausa or if I'm Edo, does the price of a bag of fries become cheaper for me? Or if my tribesman is elected president, does it mean that the economic adversity of misrule of that same person, or does not impact on me? Who are those suffering from this insecurity? For example, if you use Nigeria example, who are those suffering from this insecurity in the land? In Kaduna, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Borno. It is the same ethnic nationality that the sitting president comes from. So I don't know, and you now see those people fighting for politicians. You see the Kikuyu fighting the Luo over a Uhuru Kenyatta or a Raila Odinga. Or you see maybe the Kalenjin coming to the flame because of a William Ruto. At whose expense? Who is dying? Who is suffering? Whose house is destroyed? Whose means of livelihood is truncated? It is the populace, the electorate. And so I must become wiser that politicians who urge us to go into conflict over their own aspirations or seeking for power don't mean well for us.
All right. Now let's take a look at the splitted house. You get to realize that some of the people that look, for you to come out to announce the result when 4 of your members are saying no to it, do you think that they were in a hurry and there was no need for this hurry until everything is sorted out? Hence the commission is trying to cause chaos in Kenya.
Two things. Like I said, you cannot pontificate over issues that you don't have all the facts.
Okay.
There must be timeline to announce a result. You know, if that timeline is there, the chairman is duty bound to keep the sanctity of that time. I said it is better at times to announce a result and then to try to submit something and not another result at all. That becomes a problem. But my worry is, how will 4 people say no and 3 people say yes?
Say yes.
And then it's announced. Because the 3 people is has the chairman.
Including the chairman.
Of the place.
I mean, 4 against
That
3.
also underscores of, when you make laws, there are certain clauses that you don't easily know. Like somebody said, until there's a problem, we don't know if constitution exists. It's when there's conflict.
Even the Electoral Act in Nigeria.
Yes.
Those who made the laws.
They didn't know.
Until when the issue came
on and they saw themselves excluded, that they began to make noise. So these are some of the things. So I believe that the chairman couldn't have just unilaterally made an announcement. I want to try to give it to him on that.
Yes.
But again, like I said, there's a window of remedy. That you announce a result doesn't make it final. And that's the law. Until all altercations, until all issues are resolved within the time frame, the final authority to announce the result becomes the Supreme Court. Yeah. So that's why nobody should fight. Take the things that, get all your facts, get all your information together, and let's go to where it is. The tribunal is there. Let's go to the place, But let every man be sure that whatever statements or whatever decisions they are taking are within the ambits of the law and a cause for justice, fair play. Because if there is no justice, most of the work we have seen in politics is because justice was denied.
Yeah.
It's because there was no fair play. It's because there was no truth in some of the things said.
All right.
Because last time, the problem was that the server they suddenly had a problem.
The problem with the server, yes.
That was the problem. They couldn't decode the server. So how and why?
Okay.
I hope it doesn't come to that again.
All right.
That the server will suddenly disappear.
We're about to commence our descent right now. You're going to have your last line on this discussion, because right now the chairman, they've announced that William Ruto is a winner. But there's a disagreement in the House, and that is beginning to cause sparks of trouble and disaffection here and there in Kenya. How do you think they can move out of this stage? 1 minute each.
Okay, well, for me, I think it's people to whom much is given. It's often said, much is expected. Okay. We expect that those who were so appointed as independent elections and boundaries commission, electoral commissioners, ought to take that as a national assignment and discharge it to the best of their ability. I'm not happy that majority of the electoral commissioners were alleging that there's a manipulation of results, and then the chairman and 2 others still went ahead to.
So how's the results?
What was the hurry for?
Right.
What was the hurry for? Why don't we ensure that everything is in place? And then elections are important because it is how you elect leaders.
All right.
And it is in that election of leaders that you get people who determine the policy directive of the.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Reverend, your 1 minute starts now.
Yeah, I want to first of all say that there's no way you can have 100% agreement. There has never been, and there will never be. But that being said, let everybody respect the law. Let every person respect the sanctity of life, and do it accordingly until they get to the final destination of the Supreme Court to determine who the final person is.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Our eyes are peeled to the ground to see what will happen next in Kenya, because the chairman came out to announce the results saying William Ruto is the winner, but 4 out of the body are saying no. It's like, 4 against 3, but the chairman do have the power. He announced the results, and there's disaffection in Kenya. Do you think that the Supreme Court will be able to lay this to rest? Do you think there will be another election in Kenya just to satisfy everyone? Because Raila Odinga is not taking it lying. It was like he's going to follow this to the letter, to the end point. But the fear is this: 4 Point is searching for justice. It will not lead to bloodshed. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on today's show. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.